And finally, I'm going to discuss flashcards as a tool for memorization. It's sort of resource intensive because you've got to create all these cards or buy them off or whatever, as opposed to just discussing things verbally. So it's sort of resource intensive, but it's worth the while because it really helps you learn things in a visual way, and it helps you speed things up because flashcards are seldom played slowly. You don't really get time to think about things. Okay, no, that's not how you play with flashcards. The way you play with flashcards is that you flash them up really quick, and they're supposed to give the answer really quick, right? So it helps strengthen the learning that you've already done, right? So it helps you remember the things in a far better way. But again, it's a resource intensive way, so I personally didn't prefer to study using flashcards, especially at a higher study level. So with that, let's move on to the icing on the cake, so to say, right? So it's usually a good idea, if possible, before you venture into the actual exam itself, try to familiarize yourself with the exam pattern and the way in which you'd be tested, right? And this goes for all sorts of school level exams, college level exams, as well as university exams. If you're going to give the GRE by ETS, it's a really good idea to go through one of the resource books or reference guides available. Go through the Kingston or the Princeton or the Barron's book or whatever, because they help you familiarize with the type of questions that you're going to be asked about, right? So past papers, exam style questions are really essential for you to be able to perform well. It's a far better place to be in, to be familiar with the exam style, to be familiar with the strategies used in the exam, than for it to be a complete surprise to you, right? So the first thing to do is to train on the heavy set. I see students that are training on the light set. Okay, yeah, okay, great, fantastic, you've done some practice, but really, is it helping you? Train on the heavy set, exercise, right? So if you want to build your muscles, you're not really going to lift a piece of paper or a tissue, right? Because it's not really challenging you. It's not building anything inside of you. So go for the heavy set. Go for the difficult questions. Go for the main thing, right? Don't forget about the little things because, okay, train with them as well. Tone yourself, fix yourself, train yourself with them as well. But if you've got the difficult stuff handled, then probably you'd be able to handle the little stuff as well. Time yourself. I see students practicing on exam papers, exam style questions without timing themselves. Really, the essence of the exam is to be able to solve the questions well in a given time and stressful condition. Right? So you would be under stress, you would be under timed conditions. There is no exam or barely an exam that you could be taking where you wouldn't be timed. Right? And most of the time, time happens to be a major constraint or limiting factor in your performance as well. So it's better to time yourself to ensure that you've got the adequate speed for the actual exam, right? So make sure you've got that before you venture into the actual exam. Leave time to recheck your answers. I don't know why, but I see students that give the exam and they're writing to the very last minute, right? And that's when they finish the exam. No. Out of every hour, you should leave out around 15 minutes or so just for your checking. So if an exam is an hour long, you've only got 45 minutes to complete the exam. The rest of the 15 minutes are for you to go through the exam again and look for any ways of optimizing your answers, right? So any ways of improving the existing answers, right? That's how you really rise up to the top. For those students that are that intend to give their O-levels or IGCSEs or A-levels and so on, I'd recommend you to practice on exam papers or past papers from 2010 onwards. That's a minimum standard, right? So practice at least 10 years worth of papers. If you're studying in universities, then it's a good idea to associate and socialize with your seniors. They could give you an idea onto the way questions are asked and whatever, right? So that's a really helpful way of familiarizing yourself with the actual exam to come before it comes to you, before it reaches you, right? And again, if you're unsure of where you could obtain past papers from, at least for the Cambridge system, you could download them off extremepapers.com or through Papa Cambridge and whatnot. Yeah. And finally, keep an exam kit ready, right? So make sure you're really well prepared before the actual exam day comes. So make sure you've got your pencil case, your see-through pouch, or your statement of entry all printed and ready with your ID documents and whatever before the actual day of the exam. The last thing you want is for you to wake up late on the exam day and have this mayhem and this havoc around you that there's a great chance of you missing something that you'd need on the exam day, right? So try to prepare well for the exam day. Make sure you've slept well. Make sure you've got everything ready beforehand. Make sure you're well in time and prepared for the actual exam, right? So for those people that intend to give their O-levels, IGCSEs or A-levels, you should have multiple pens, blue or black, because those are dark blue, or black because those are the pens that you'd be allowed in the actual exam. Keep multiple pencils in your pencil case ready so that you don't have to waste time sharpening those pencils during the actual exam, because of course time is of the essence during the exam. Make sure your geometry sets or sheets or whatever you'd need are ready for you before the actual exam. So you shouldn't be concerned with all of these nitty-gritty details. You should have everything ready, and your main focus should be on the exam itself, on the exam day, right? So your main focus needs to be on your own performance, right? And finally, have a good breakfast, because it really helps you energize yourself well, right? So make sure you have a good, healthy breakfast, because it really makes a difference from an exam standpoint. So the race is on, and make sure you've got a winning attitude.